Happy Video Monday evening, everybody. Teshia Maher here with you, and apparently a pretty full-on case of hot yoga hair. So I apologize for that. I just finished teaching and I unfortunately didn't bring a brush. And so now you're gonna have to look at this awful mess for the next few minutes. My apologies. Tonight, I want to talk to you about adrenal fatigue. But before I get into the nitty-gritty of it, I want to share something quickly with you. The other night I did a consultation with a beautiful girl in Arizona. You know who you are. And she reflected to me that one of the things that she really, really loves about me is the fact that I'm so real. And that just touched my heart greatly, because the one thing I try to do every single day when I go out in the world, and especially through my work, is to be as authentic as possible, to be as real as possible, and to be human. I'm human. I'm not perfect, and I never want people to be, led to believe that I have everything figured out and everything under control, we're all just doing the best we can. Anyways, she reflected that to me, and so it inspired me to share something personal with you tonight, which will lead me into the topic of this week. About 7 years ago, I lost my father, who was one of the most amazing human beings, I'm convinced, in this world, to ever probably grace this world. He was just wonderful, and he and I were very, very close. He also suffered from mental illness and a serious depression that lasted almost his whole life. It would come in and out, and at times it was okay, he was well, and at times it would get really, really bad, as depression tends to go, in waves, in cycles. But ultimately, about 7 years ago now, he took his own life. And when that happened, I was just devastated. It crushed me in a really big way, and I felt like a really broken person for many years following his death. And what I experienced about a year after his death was a bunch of symptoms that I knew were not right relating to my health. And around that same time, thankfully, I had begun this beautiful journey into health and into nutrition and into learning about this world. And I essentially self-diagnosed myself with adrenal fatigue. Now, adrenal fatigue is very tricky because there isn't actually a test that your doctor can give you to determine whether you have it or not. So often people are suffering in silence, and that's just horrible, obviously. And there is something you can do if you have adrenal fatigue, but first you need to be able to identify if, maybe you do. There's also a chance that you could have minor adrenal fatigue or very extreme advanced adrenal fatigue. So there's a very big fluctuating scale there. And if you're somebody who thinks you might have this, I would love to work with you on this. So please contact me and maybe we can do a consultation. But in general, I want to share with you tonight some of the symptoms so that if you are somebody who's suffering, you can start to figure out, or get to the bottom at least, of what is going on. So some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue. Especially when rising in the morning. So just not being able to get going unless you have a stimulant like coffee or espresso or whatever, sugar. So needing stimulants to keep you going, to get you through your life, to get you through your day. Ideally, you wanna let the inspiration of living get you through your day, not a bunch of substances. But this is what happens when you get yourself into a situation of adrenal fatigue. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a weak person or that you're crutching on all these things. It essentially will be what you need to do in order to get going. Again, your hormones are just not where they need to be. So that's the first few things. Electrolyte imbalances. So if your body's retaining tons of water all the time and it doesn't make sense because you're hydrating and yet still, this can be a symptom. There's a hormone called aldosterone, and when you are producing too much, too little aldosterone, it can really affect your water balance within your cells. So that's another thing. Another interesting thing, if you find that you eat a very potassium-rich food like fruit, or let's say even something amazingly healthful like a big green juice, if you consume that potassium-rich food and ironically you feel worse, that could be a sign of adrenal fatigue. When you consume a lot of potassium at once, this can sometimes make symptoms of adrenal fatigue worse, because the main mineral actually that can help somebody with adrenal fatigue is sodium, sea salt. That will be the thing that will actually usually help you feel better. So if you find that you take a glass of water and when you add sea salt to it and drink it, do you feel better then than when you drink the green juice? That might be a sign. I love that as a test. That could be a really good test. Really low blood pressure is another sign that you might be experiencing adrenal fatigue. What else? There are so many things that I want to mention here. Really powerful PMS symptoms, exaggerated PMS, cravings for salt, especially for stimulants like caffeine, and most importantly perhaps for chocolate or really fatty foods. These kinds of foods can be stimulating, and so those might be why you're craving them, especially the caffeine, especially the chocolate. The chocolate also because of magnesium. Your body's screaming for magnesium usually when you have adrenal fatigue. So that's a few of the things that if you said yes, yes, yes to every one of those things that I mentioned, pretty likely you're experiencing some degree of adrenal fatigue. Again, it might not be a very serious case, but at least some degree of, okay? I want to give you a few suggestions to, if you are pretty sure you have adrenal fatigue, a few things you can do, if doing a consultation with me isn't possible for you or isn't something you're interested in, no problem. I want to give you at least a few suggestions that starting now hopefully can help you. I want to suggest that you start adding sea salt to your food. I want to suggest that first thing in the morning, instead of going for that coffee, you have a big glass of water with about a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Drink it. See if you feel better. You probably will feel even more energized than from your coffee. Imagine, because that's what your body is probably really asking for, really screaming for. Stay away from the coffee, stay away from the chocolate, stay away from the pop, stay away from the stimulants and the sugars for a while. Even fruit sugar for a little while can be not helpful for somebody with adrenal fatigue. When I myself was experiencing this, I was also at the time, first of all, I had this trauma that I had gone through that had drained me. And then I was running like crazy on top of it. And I also was doing the 80-10-10 diet at the time, where I was experimenting with that at first. And all of those things exacerbated the problem. If you have adrenal fatigue, you need good quality proteins. They can come from plants too. A good vegan protein powder, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds, healthful oils. If you aren't a vegetarian, if you're not vegan, eat some eggs. You need proteins, you need good fats, you need less sugar, even less fruit sugar for a while. You do, however, still need vitamin C, so I would suggest taking a really good whole food sourced vitamin C supplement starting ASAP, as well as magnesium. Vitamin C and magnesium and B vitamins. You need to emphasize those three as far as supplementation goes. In terms of diet, again, stay away from the caffeine, please. Stay away from the refined sugars, and certainly start sea salting your food. Lastly, try to sleep in till 9 a.m. There's a lot of information that points to 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. being an especially important window for people with adrenal fatigue to sleep. If you can't do that during the week, at least try to do it on the weekend. Also, try to go to bed by, at the latest, 10:30, 11 p.m. if you have adrenal fatigue. Again, these windows are especially important. You will also find that at 2 to 3 p.m., if you can take a nap, if you can get horizontal for even 10 minutes, this is going to be helpful. So I know that was a lot. If you think you have adrenal fatigue, maybe watch this video a few times, because I just gave you some of my best tips. And if you're certain you have adrenal fatigue and think you might have a serious case of it, please contact me. I would love to work with you and help you get well again. Teshia Maher and the Home of Living Live is my Facebook page, my website, www.teshiamaher.com. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great week. And if you think you have adrenal fatigue, there is hope, and you can heal from this just like you can any health problem that you have. You just need to know what to do, and you can get there. Take care, everybody, and have a great rest of your week. Bye!